What's going on today, guys? So I literally just reviewed Thunderball, and I'm going to be continuing in my James Bond franchise officially for the release of Spectre coming out November 6th. It's only 9 days away, guys. I am so excited for this movie. And I love James Bond very much, so today, guys, I'm going to be continuing by reviewing for you guys Roger Moore's very first outing, and definitely my personal favorite, Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die came out in 1973 and was directed by Guy Hamilton, who previously directed Goldfinger, which I kind of think is one of my least favorite Bond movies, to be honest, guys. And I recently posted a review for my Goldfinger analysis podcast, which is a special video that's about 20 minutes long, where I talk about the things that I think Goldfinger had problems with, because I do think there were a lot of problems with that movie. I don't think it was as perfect as people said. But anyway, guys, Live and Let Die is the first movie to star Roger Moore, who played the Saint previously as 007. And guys, to me, Roger Moore is literally the cartoony, campy, stupid version of James Bond, who just wants to sleep with a lot of women. But I think in this movie, Roger Moore was definitely the most grounded in it, and I really think this is my favorite James Bond movie with him in it. So the plot of this movie is that James Bond is tasked with trying to find this drug trafficker who later on plans to sell heroin to the world for free, and he must travel to 3 different locations: New York, New Orleans, and of course one of the islands called San Monique. And I love the locations. They're very brisk, they're very open. And that first scene in New York, the driver of James Bond gets shot and he has to drive him through the town. That was awesome. I love that action sequence, and I have replayed it multiple times. It's one of my favorites of all time because it's so fast-paced. It only takes place for like 45 seconds, but you were just on edge at every single second. And I really liked the Bond girl in this movie. We'll talk about her in a minute, but I'm going to talk about the villain first. The villain in this movie is Mr. Katanga. But at first, it was Mr. Big, and he's played by Yaphet Kotto. Now, most people don't know who that is, and I could accept that because he was only in like maybe 5 movies his entire life. But I think the other movie that you may know him from, if you've seen a lot of movies and you know a lot of horror, is from the first Alien movie. He played Parker. I think he really pulled off a great performance here. And the one thing is that in this particular age, racism was still pretty big. And it turns out that the director of the film did not want Yaphet Kotto anywhere near the opening of this film because he did not want to have people know that, hey, this is a black villain, he's a black guy, because there was just so much racism still going on in the early 70s. So I think the art of turning the villain into an African American was very brilliant. I really like the idea of the ethnic diversity with this movie because before that, all the other black guys were usually always killed, or they were just allies of James Bond and they would always die. Which then, of course, happens after this movie. But I really like the fact that the villain was black. I felt like it offered more dominance towards African Americans. Not to say, I'm not a racist. My mom's black and my dad's white, so I come from 2 very diverse parents. So I think I know what I'm talking about here when I say that I believe this is definitely the most interesting Bond villain at that time. What I also like about this movie is Teehee. And that is, I'm not going to say he's a sidekick because he is as close to the villain as you can get. And he's got that mechanical claw for his hand. Okay guys, now I'm going to talk about the official Bond girl in this movie, Solitaire, played by Jane Seymour. This is one of my personal favorite Bond girls. And I'm going to tell you one little story, okay? When I was in 7th grade, okay, I think at that age I was really beginning to like girls and I was beginning to think differently about them because, you know, puberty shit. So anyway, there was this girl that I liked, and I'm not going to mention her name because I didn't tell her in preparation for this video, but she was really nice and very beautiful, and I still know her to this day, and I still think she's pretty nice, but her face looks a lot like Jane Seymour's face in this movie. I'm going to be perfectly honest. So when I first saw Live and Let Die, I was actually at that age. And she was my favorite Bond girl because her face looked exactly like the girl I liked. And that's something that I just thought really evoked a lot of emotion from me personally. But I think I loved her character because it added a very different tone of James Bond as well. Not only was there a diversity tone with the movie, But there was now a supernatural tone because she was a psychic. Her cards were like how she could tell the future. And I absolutely like that a lot. I love science fiction and I like that psychic stuff. That stuff is my favorite. Though I really will admit, and I unfortunately have to admit this, that her love scene with Bond felt a little bit too forced, and it kind of felt like Roger Moore was kind of raping her. Because if she had sex with anyone, that's what they say in the movies, that if she bedded anyone, she would lose her psychic ability. So, kind of like Bond was not only ripping her virginity, but ripping that supernatural virginity out of her as well, and I was like, that's kind of not cool. So in the end, guys, Live and Let Die is a very good Bond film, and it's actually number 5 in my top 5 James Bond movies. I really enjoy this movie. I think it has awesome action, thrilling adventure, and I think this movie is vastly underrated. The ratings I've seen it give, they're like 67%, and I'm like, really? I really think it is a pretty good movie, and I think as a Bond movie, it works very well because it added different diversity and a different tone for adding a supernatural thing to it. So in the end, guys, Live and Let Die is pretty awesome, so I'm going to give it an A-. Well, thank you guys for watching another one of my movie reviews. I appreciate this as always. I'm going to be continuing in my James Bond series by delivering you guys the next review of my second favorite film, GoldenEye, which is going to be coming up very soon, guys. So guys, if you like this review, then of course click that like button and send me some comments on what movies you want me to review next, and I will definitely deliver for you guys. Also, what you guys think about the suit, and do you think I should use it for the rest of the James Bond movies? Make a comment below if you think I should. But in the end, guys, thanks and stay tuned.